Most people who see a red panda think they already understand it. It looks calm. It looks gentle. It looks like the kind of animal that has never had to worry about anything in its life. And that's exactly what it wants you to think. Because what's actually happening inside that body right now, while it sits there looking unbothered, is one of the most carefully engineered survival systems ever found in a warm-blooded animal. Scientists spent decades assuming they understood red pandas. They were wrong. And when you see what they actually figured out, you'll realize this animal has been hiding something extraordinary in plain sight. Here's the first thing nobody tells you. Red pandas shouldn't be alive, not in the environment they've chosen to live in. They live between 2,200 and 4,800 meters above sea level. That's Himalayan altitude, where the air is thin, the winters drop below -15 Celsius, and everything about the environment is trying to kill you. And the one thing they eat, bamboo, is nutritionally almost worthless. It's 95% water and fiber, no fat, almost no protein. Eating bamboo is, metabolically, not that far from eating wet paper. So think about the math here. You're a small mammal in a freezing environment. Your body needs to burn enormous energy just to maintain its temperature, and every meal you eat gives you back almost nothing. By every biological rule we understand, a red panda should be dead within weeks. But here's what actually happens. In 2020, researchers at the Smithsonian's National Zoo measured red panda metabolic rates in controlled conditions, and what they found stopped people in the field. Red pandas have one of the lowest resting metabolic rates ever recorded in a non-hibernating mammal. And that word matters. Non-hibernating. They are not sleeping through winter. They are fully awake, fully alert, moving through snow-covered forests at altitude and burning almost no energy while they do it. It's like finding a car that's idling at a speed that should stall its engine and then discovering it's been running like that for millions of years. But that's only the beginning of how strange this gets. Look at a red panda's paw closely enough, and you'll notice something that shouldn't be there. There's an extra structure on the wrist, not a finger, not exactly. It's a modified radial sesamoid bone that extends outward and functions like a thumb. Scientists call it a false thumb. And the red panda uses it to grip bamboo stalks with remarkable precision. Now, if you've ever read about giant pandas, that sounds familiar. Giant pandas have the exact same structure, same position, same function, same purpose. And so for a long time, people assumed red pandas and giant pandas must be related. Similar animals, similar solution, shared ancestry. That's how evolution usually works. But here's the thing. Red pandas and giant pandas are not related, not in any meaningful way. Giant pandas are bears. They belong to the family Ursidae. Red pandas are something else entirely, and figuring out what exactly took science almost 200 years. For a while, naturalists grouped them with raccoons, then with weasels, then back with bears. In 1825, the French zoologist Frédéric Cuvier officially named the species. And by the 1900s, the classification debates had become genuinely heated papers, arguing against other papers. Scientists publicly contradicting each other, the taxonomy kept shifting. It wasn't until 2020, when a comprehensive genomic study finally settled the question, that we got a definitive answer. Red pandas belong to their own family, Ailuridae. They have no close living relatives. They are a completely isolated branch on the evolutionary tree, and they've been isolated for somewhere between 20 and 30 million years. Which means that false thumb evolved twice, completely independently, in two species with no shared ancestor for tens of millions of years. Evolution found the same solution to the same problem across an enormous span of time. Scientists call this convergent evolution. And it happens, but usually in simpler structures. A fin shape, a streamlined body, not a brand new functional appendage built from a repurposed wrist bone. What nobody really talks about is what this tells you about bamboo. For evolution to build a new body part twice in totally separate lineages, the selection pressure must be extreme. Bamboo is so difficult to grip, so slippery and unwieldy that animals which could grip it even slightly better survived at dramatically higher rates than those that couldn't. Red pandas didn't switch to easier food. They didn't adapt around the problem. They built a new finger. That's how committed this species is to this one narrow ecological niche, and it's why what comes next makes complete sense once you understand it. This is the part that genuinely surprised researchers. Not the metabolism, not the thumb. This. Red pandas freeze. Not in the way you'd freeze from cold. When a red panda detects a threat, a predator, an unfamiliar scent, a sound that doesn't fit, it stops moving entirely, body rigid, eyes fixed. Breathing reduced to almost nothing. It holds this position not for seconds, but for minutes. Most prey animals that do something like this are experiencing what's called tonic immobility, a reflex that kicks in as a last resort. You've seen it in rabbits when a dog catches them. It looks like the animal is playing dead, but it's not a choice. It's a panic response, an automatic shutdown that happens when escape has already failed. Red pandas do something different. A field study conducted in the Himalayan foothills between 2018 and 2020 tracked individual red pandas using camera traps and behavioral observation over 18 months. What the data showed was that red pandas don't enter the freeze because they've been cornered. They enter it early, before a threat has even fully materialized. They use the freeze to assess the situation, to gather information about what's happening around them before committing to any action. Heart rate drops, movement stops, and the animal processes. It's controlled, it's deliberate, and in terms of energy cost, it's almost free. Because here's where the metabolic research and the freeze behavior connect. Red pandas didn't just evolve the ability to go still, they evolved a nervous system that makes stillness metabolically trivial. When a red panda locks down, its already low energy consumption drops even further. Body temperature remains stable, muscles stay primed without cramping. The animal can hold the freeze for 30–40 minutes without meaningful cost. A snow leopard could be moving through the canopy 20 feet above a frozen red panda, and the red panda will simply wait. Not panicking, not burning adrenaline, just watching, processing, waiting for the leopard to move on. You might recognize something in that, actually. Think about the last time you were in a situation you couldn't immediately read a conversation that shifted in a way you didn't expect. A moment where the instinct to react was strong, but the right move was clearly to wait. The animals that survived in high predator environments weren't always the fastest or the strongest. Sometimes they were the ones that could go absolutely still in the middle of chaos and not flinch until they understood exactly what was happening. Red pandas have been doing that for millions of years, and they are extraordinarily good at it. But here's what makes this more than just a fascinating biological footnote. There are somewhere between 2,500 and 10,000 red pandas left in the wild. The range in that estimate is itself telling we don't know precisely, because the populations are so fragmented and so difficult to survey that counting them is genuinely hard. What we do know is that they're classified as endangered on the IUCN Red List, and the thing driving them toward extinction isn't a new predator. It's not disease. It's not climate directly. It's fragmentation. Red pandas need connected forest. Specifically, they need high-altitude forest with dense bamboo understory, a habitat type that exists in a narrow band running from Nepal through Bhutan into southwestern China. As that forest gets divided by roads, farmland, and development, red panda populations get cut into smaller and smaller pieces, isolated from each other, unable to migrate between fragments, too genetically uniform to maintain resilience. The Red Panda Network, which has been monitoring populations across Nepal for over 15 years, has documented groups of fewer than 30 individuals in territories that can't sustain genetic diversity long-term. And what happens to a population that size, in a habitat that size, is almost always the same. They don't recover, they get smaller, and eventually, they disappear. But there's something worth holding on to here. In regions where conservation corridors have been established, where forest connectivity has been actively maintained or restored, red panda populations are stabilizing, not growing dramatically, but not collapsing either. The freeze carried them through the ice ages. It carried them through the emergence of new predators, through habitat shifts that erased other species entirely. For 30 million years, the strategy worked. Go still, conserve everything, outlast the threat. But you can't freeze your way through a fragmented forest. You can't conserve your way through the absence of habitat. This is the first threat in 30 million years that the red panda's entire biological toolkit can't answer alone. There's something almost dissonant about the red panda when you understand what it actually is. It looks decorative. It looks like something designed to be looked at rather than to survive. The rust-colored fur, the masked face, the slow, deliberate movements, nothing about the visual surface suggests an animal that has outlasted almost everything alive today. But that's the point, isn't it? The red panda's entire survival strategy is built on being underestimated, on looking calm when it's calculating, on appearing still when it's reading everything around it, on running an internal system so efficient that a freezing mountain environment becomes, somehow, livable. Wildlife ecologist Angela Gladstone, who spent decades studying this species, wrote something in one of her later papers that I think about often. She said that the red panda doesn't need saving because it's cute. It needs saving because it's old, older than most of what lives around it. And when something that ancient disappears, what goes with it isn't just a species. It's 30 million years of evolutionary solutions to problems we haven't finished understanding yet. The false thumb evolved twice because bamboo demanded it. The low metabolism evolved to make a barren environment survivable. The freeze evolved to turn stillness into intelligence. None of that happened in a century. None of it can be reconstructed. So here's where I keep arriving when I think about this animal. The red panda has survived everything the planet has thrown at it. Ice ages, predator evolution, catastrophic habitat shifts by doing less, by waiting, by burning almost nothing and outlasting the threat. It's the most patient animal on Earth. And the one thing it can't wait out is us. What that means, and what we actually do with that, is a question that researchers in Nepal and Bhutan are trying to answer right now. The corridors are being mapped. The populations are being tracked. The data is getting better. But the red panda is still sitting in its tree, completely still, watching something move at the edge of the frame. And it's been waiting a very long time to see what we decide.